And hello, we are back. As I promised, it's the back top of the hour, and I'm excited to be introducing our next speaker, who is a friend of mine, Maestro Stevens. Maestro is a full-time entrepreneur and owner of a creative agency called the Iconic Expressions LLC, with 8+ years of digital marketing experience. Currently located in Cleveland, Ohio, Maestro launched Iconic Templates in 2022 as a subsidiary brand of his agency. He's also the proud father of a baby girl. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring Maestro into things here. Hey, Maestro, how you doing?
Hey Michelle, how are you?
I am good. So good to see you. Nice to have you here. I have had the pleasure of running into you at many word camps this year, and it's been very cool to watch you like speak on stage and take the floor on so many things and share the knowledge that you have. So it's exciting to have you back here again today.
Yeah, it was a pleasant surprise to see your face as well.
Oh, thank you.
We have run into each other multiple times, and it's like every single time we always are surprised. Like I wasn't expecting.
I know. Like, what are you doing in
Yeah,
Asia or
right?
in Europe? And hey, what are you doing here? It's so good to see you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. Do you have slides we're sharing today, or just
Yeah,
you? Go ahead.
I'll
Yep.
start sharing.
Yep. Go ahead and
I was gonna
bring
do a
them up,
little
and then
intro if that's okay with you, or you want.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely. So
Michelle,
I've introduced.
you know I got this. We family around here. Let's like they put me at 11 o'clock for a reason because maybe I was gonna be too much for the 10 o'clock spot, but I'm here now on some water, so we gonna get this. I'm gonna let you relax, and I'm gonna take it from here.
Okay, but I'm good. I'm the one who has to put them on the screen.
Oh,
So
you
as
gotta
soon
put
as
them on. Oh, you gotta put them on. Oh, okay,
you can
okay,
share, and then I'll add them once you get going. I
okay.
will take myself off screen when you tell me. I will put those up on the screen next to you. But the floor is yours. If people are watching and you have questions for Maestro, throw them in the chat. We're going to do a Q&A afterwards, and I'll be sure that we talk about all those things together. So it's all yours, Maestro.
All right, let me throw them on right now, so that way you can throw them on as well. I was trying to
Sounds
let you
good.
take a break.
Oh, no worries.
All right, here you go. Okay, okay. So from here, I guess I can add them myself. Okay. All right, now they're showing. Now they're showing. I was like, where are they at? Where are my slides at? All right. So we're gonna get into it. I want to thank everybody here for joining this session. I want to thank Cadence as well too, more than anything, because if it wasn't for Cadence, we wouldn't be here. And Michelle, thank you as well for, I guess, coming in and showing up, doing your thing as well as usual. We are here to learn a little bit about strategy. And speaking of strategy, let me get ready for the next slide here. Okay. So speaking of strategy, we are speaking on strategy specifically with website development and even with WordPress. But before we get started, I definitely want to thank, as I mentioned, once again, Cadence, Stellar WP, and Liquid Web. The whole family there. Ben and Hannah and Kathy and the rest of the Cadence team for putting on the event. This is the second second round, I'll say, of the Cadence Amplify event, and I think this is awesome. I want to give a shout out to Rachel as well, who is on track one. She was somebody I would be watching right now if we weren't on the same track because she's also in another community, like the Cadence community, Black Press community that we represent. So shout outs to Black Press and shout outs to Post Status and Michelle's underrepresented in tech in Ali. So yeah, I'm just big on shout people out and my team as well. Dessa and Linwell, they help me out a lot. And yeah, I can't think of anything else, but let's go in. WordPress with purpose, freshen up your website strategy. So for the most part, I'm going to try to give examples of what I've done and give you examples of what you could do as well too when it comes to your website strategy and your just your overall goals and your mission in general. So, for instance, what we have here is a slide just stating and talking about your goals. And one thing I did notice, and this is the reason why I do like to have my original presentation open because sometimes I have a little glitch or a little copy from the wrong slide that I've added and I didn't delete it. So it just depends if there's something that I feel like is just too much and I'm like, yeah, I got to change this right now. I'll always go to my original presentation and just change it live. That's just how I like to roll. But that's just me. Everybody else just does their own thing. But when it comes to goals, let's talk about it. So before we even get to the goals, I just want to show you what a preliminary, like a very uh, we'll say outlined version of a website strategy will look like. That way you can see the end and then we can start building from the beginning from there. So the best example would be to just show you a Google Doc and just to let you know that this is just an outline of the strategy. And the reason why this is an outline of the strategy, because when you're actually creating your strategy and you're doing it in a way where you're creating separate documents, so that way you don't have this one long document for everything. You can, what I like about Google Docs, and I know other platforms and
I'm going
document.
to interrupt you for one quick second, Maestro. People are having trouble hearing you. So if you could turn up your mic volume,
Oh, really?
they're, yeah, they're just reporting in the chat. We want to make sure that,
How
that
about
people can hear
now?
you for
Does
this.
it sound better now?
I hear you just fine. So
You
I'm
can hear
waiting
me
to
just
see
fine.
somebody, if somebody,
I
other
can.
people using headphones. I'm hearing you louder. So hopefully that'll do it. And it'll be
Okay.
on the replay. But I want people to be able to hear you. So sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt,
No,
but
if I would, I wouldn't. I didn't know in the beginning. I thought everything was good. All right. Let me.
yeah, I did too. Okay.
All right. How about now though? I mean, does it sound better now? Because I don't want to continue if now it's
I
not.
hear you louder. I'm just waiting for anybody to confirm in the chat. If somebody could, okay. So Joe
Okay.
Simpson Jr. says it's good. I'm gonna
It's
take
good.
myself back out of it, and I'm gonna let
Okay.
you
Okay.
continue. Thank you.
Okay. All right. But thank you. I appreciate that. So if everybody can hear me now, that's good. If there is still lowness in my voice, just let me know and I'll try to turn it up louder. So going back to what I was saying, that this is the outline version. And when it comes to outlining and creating your strategy, you want to link different documents to your main document or outline version. That way, you're not adding a whole bunch of um, different information, all this information onto one long stretched out document. And just depending on what you're using, it just is going to give you different features or different capabilities of how to link different documents together. So, what I like about Google Docs is it gives you a nice little summary here, depending on what you're linking to. And then if you want to, you can click on Open Preview, and right inside of the document, you're able to just look at and reference another document. So that way you don't have to necessarily open the documents. So that's something that I like to do, and it's in my opinion, a strategic way of organizing your information. So this is what I mean by a strategy, a website strategy outlined specifically, because again, you don't want to just add everything. You just kind of want to keep it short. Okay. So then before we even get to the strategy, the website strategy, just kind of going backwards a little bit. And one of the biggest things that I did like about that I did want to mention is I referenced a lot of the Kadence Beats podcast. I think it was Strategic Design Decisions, and I referenced that in this presentation as well. So speaking of that, for instance, you want to, when it comes to branding, that podcast is talking a lot about, styling and design decisions, as well as some strategic things that you can do to enhance your engagement on your website. So before you even start your website, after you create your strategy, you want to start your actual style guide or your brand identity. And that's when you are actually, and you're focused on drilling down into growing your business or growing your hobby, growing your blog, growing whatever. If you're not really that keen on going that far, then no, you don't need to create an entire brand style guide or a brand identity, right? But if you are, it's very helpful to create something like this because you can reference this yourself, and then you can also have your team and others reference it as well. So it's just two things I wanted to show you, that you have your strategy, your website strategy, but then you also have your visual design, your system, your brand identity system as well. So now let's get to actually building out what are those different elements or those different sections to building out your strategy, your website strategy. And how does that look? So speaking of referencing the podcast, um, there was a quote that Ben had said on there that I really liked was, and he said, want to be really intentional about the decisions I make on my site to make it effective for visitors. And that's when it comes to setting your goals. If you're not thinking about this when you're setting your goals and you're not thinking about your target audience and your people, then you're truly not making a website for them. You're really trying to make it for you. And you're not going to be able to create the decision or make the decisions that you need to make based on people that are actually going to engage or utilize what you're putting in front of their face. So that's key when it comes to creating your goals. So an example of a few goals here for us and for one of my brands are you can see here that we have three. And I like to keep it to three because if you go more than three, you start to, at least at the beginning, you start to create, if not analysis paralysis, but sometimes, I don't want to say unrealistic expectations, but almost sometimes expectations that are just not something that you're not going to be able to hit in a time period that's going to make you feel like you have made progress, because that often keeps us from going anywhere. So, first goal: empower creators and entrepreneurs to boost productivity using templates and WordPress child themes. Um, these goals right here are goals that I can tie to other KPIs or key performance indicators and measure them as well too in some sort of way or fashion. So that's something that you also want to think about too. Become a leading premium template shop in the WordPress and Canva communities. So that's a second goal as well too. And third goal: gain 100 loyal paying customers that are not non-refundable type customers. And that's just getting more specific, because if a person refunds, you typically count them as a customer for your goal. So if goals can be as specific as you need them to be, there's so many acronyms for how you want to set your goals, like SMART goals, for example. But just set something that really is focused on your people. When I say your people, I'm talking about your audience. Let me get a drink of water here. So after that, then you want to get styled on them. And that's why I wanted to show you what a brand style guide would look like or could look like. So that way you at least had a reference for those who haven't seen, because I know sometimes we look on the internet and they don't show everything, or we look and we don't get to see everything that we need to see. So I just want to show you an example. So this came from the design decisions with fonts and colors part of the podcast. And Hannah said here, she said, when you open a page, is it pleasing to the eye, or is it just too much happening at one time? Right. And that is key, because when it comes to your branding, first you want to use brand strategy and use brand messaging to support your design decisions. So going with, what is your brand story? Like, what is the story of your brand? What is the story of you or who you are, right? Then you want to use that to fuse your brand messaging. What are your promises? What do you promise to deliver? What are your values? What are you actually valuing when it comes to your morals or your code per se? Then we have your mission statement and your vision statement and your value proposition, just giving you examples of different elements that you would use when it comes to your brand messaging and your brand strategy. But these elements should typically come first before you start to get to the visual design, because these are the things that are going to support the reasons and the decisions you're even making in your visual design process. And then again, it helps fuel the logo, and then the headings. I think Lauren earlier was talking about headings from an SEO perspective. So now I'm talking about headings from a branding perspective. Then your style and your mood, the images, even the icons, right? So when it comes to our brand, these icons here are original. We made these from scratch that reflected a lot of our brand values, that reflected a lot of our brand principles. And so we wanted to create these based off of that, right? It's another reason why we have a glass morphism as far as transparency, right? This gives a transparent, so it's literally it's transparent, but that's how I am as a leader and an CEO. I was going to say SEO, CEO, and a founder is I can be very transparent. So we wanted to fuel that into the brand. So hopefully that makes sense how the support of your morals and your values and your core values can fuel even icon decisions. So let's talk about who's your crowd. I keep mentioning your people, right? And shout outs to the people out there that support us. I'm gonna give a big shout out because we all know the people that support us, man, like they got to go through it. You know, they got to, when it comes to entrepreneurship and when it comes to creating products and doing things, you know, the people that support us, that really support us, they stick to us, they got to go through it with us. And I just want to give a big shout outs because there's so many people out there I can name right now that's been rocking with me. If not from day one, from day 10, because we got 55 more days to go because this road ain't over. And speaking of one of those people that's been rocking with me from day one, let's talk about designing for distinct customer personas. And this is a quote from Kathy Zant. When you have a lot of different audiences you want to try to squeeze all of those things in one page. And so that is a problem, right? That trying to do too much with too many people. And one of the solutions to help you mitigate that problem is to create what they call user personas or user profiles or buyer personas or customer personas, however you want to say it, right? This is one of the best ways when you do your research. You do your research from your past customers. You can do your research from your competitors. You can do research from just going out in the field and asking people through surveys, but use all that information to just draft who would that typical person be. And it's not going to be this exact person. It's just going to be a general sense of who that person is, right? So these are user profiles that are just examples of people that for our brand, or again, one of our brands, would typically be under. So now let's talk about the mojo effect, right? And I'm gonna give a Don DeMarco for this one. Yeah, baby, yeah. Groovy, baby, groovy. So who's got your mojo? We're gonna find competitors, right? Finding and modeling competitors. I want to find a woman that looks at me like that. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about. Who's got the mojo? So when it comes to your competitors, you want to look at what they are doing and you want to add what they are doing and who they are, what they are into different frameworks. And you can use a table. So as you see here, I have a table and I have things like their headquarters, the year they founded, or the year they were founded, the number of employees, mission, their vision, company description. This actually came from a marketing strategy about 5 years ago. And this was for a major brand, a huge multi-million-dollar brand I did a marketing strategy for. So these are some of their competitors, or actually some of their competitors, Bowl and Branch, Pottery Barn. I can never say this word right. I'm not even gonna try because I'm gonna just mess it up. But either way, you want to look at your competitors. I would say just use about 3. All you need is about 3, maybe 4, but 3 is a good start. So we like things in 3s, right? And then from there, take the 3 competitors and then break them down into different categories, different frameworks, different ways that you can say, hey, what are the similarities and what are the differences? And break those down. You don't have to make it look pretty. You know, you don't have to make it look like this, but for the sake of presentation and because, I'm big on making things presentable, we wanted to sprucing this up. But you can just use a Google spreadsheet or Excel spreadsheet, or even a Google sheet, even a Word document. But see how detailed this gets. So we went from, just kind of basic things about the business to social stuff and other things like that. Excuse me. Now going over to their website, right? Going over to their website. So you want to get a little granular as you go down the rabbit hole because you want to be able to see who and what they are doing. And that way you can make decisions on, do you want to model from that or do you want to do something different? Again, going based on your target audience. So we always want to tie these things based on who we believe and who actually is our best type of customers or users, subscribers, etc. From there, you want to start to map out your journey. And that's just another way of saying creating your sitemap and your website navigation. And Michelle, let me know if people can't hear me still. I just want to double check on that just in case. But mapping out your journey is something that I think a lot of people do miss out on. And I think that it's a very easy process if you just take a Word document and you start to just say, okay, this is my home page, and I'm going to make a bullet point and say underneath my home page, I'm going to do this. And then underneath the about page, I'm going to do that. But typically we are used to seeing site maps or mapping pages mapping like this and some type of graph or a chart. And this is okay. There's nothing wrong with either way, either approach. Just take a certain approach, whichever one you feel is comfortable, and go from there. And then just kind of build out your website just from documenting it. I think that is one thing that a lot of people don't do. They just kind of go into the website process and they don't actually build out from a documented standpoint what the pages are going to be, and also prioritize what pages are going to come first in the website phases, because normally, unless it's a small website, you're not going to build the whole website in one day or 1 month. It's going to take months. It could take years sometimes. So you got to commit to yourself and say, hey, well, these are the pages that we're going to build in phase 1, and these are the pages we're going to build in phase 2. Oftentimes, even more products, that's known as kind of an MVP scenario. And I think we're all here used to what MVPs are. I mean, we've all been, on the MVP list. So I think that it's important for us to realize that we should take the same approach in that area, even if you're not a software developer per se or a product creator. Maybe you have services that you're doing, or you have a blog that you're creating for traveling purposes, or maybe for healthcare or something like that. But I would definitely say, think of your MVP, whatever that is, and then go from there. But before you get to that, you get there, draft out what that looks like. And that's just how you get on the map. That's just creating your site map. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And then you can go back and then take some of the methods and the teachings that Lauren had said in the previous talk. You can use a lot of that stuff with the SEO and posts and everything like that. Boom, now you can tie these things together, right? But before you get there, just write it out, just draft it out. Now let's talk about the features, right? Your website's functions and features, or otherwise known as kind of your feature showcase. So in the section animations, pop-ups, carousels, and sliders, and I kind of blended those three together because they were just back-to-back talking about a very similar thing, which was functions and features. Kathy says, are you telling me that I should put 75 Lottie animations on a page? And let's just be real. A lot of us can go crazy over putting all these animations and these pop-ups and these sliders and these different, feature tools on our website. And then next thing you know, people are going to our website and it's a flop. Because too many things are happening at one time and it's not strategic. It doesn't even make sense. So when we think about our functions and our features, the function, the action, for example, we already talked about pop-ups and carousels and Lottie animation. So let's talk about some other ideas. So we have discovering brand and offerings, learn about the brand's mission and the vision, explore available products and services, experience a demo, evaluate pricing, complete a purchase, access educational resources. These are examples of functions, what people want to be able to do on your website, right? So just think about what are the things that people want to do and just write them down. They want to do this, they want to do that, they want to do this. That is the function. Feature, the tool, right? So, for example, homepage content, it could be your about page, it could be a drop down menu, it could be the pop ups, carousels, sliders that we've mentioned before, right? It could also be an interactive demo or pricing table, a cart. What is the solution? What is the thing that's going to allow that person to typically do that thing? And it should be a person most of the time. I mean, well, AI is here now. So allow the AI or the person to do the thing that they want to do. How do you help them do that? That's something that you should be drafting out. And then to give you a little bit of extra sauce on that state, you want to add it to the phase of the customer journey, right? So you want to say, hey, what part of is it in the awareness phase? Is it in the consideration? Is it in the purchase, the retention, the decision? What phase is it that this is going to be tied to, this is going to map to when it comes to the function and the feature? Because there should be a phase. Now let's get into the nerd talk that we all like to talk about. Tech stack, right? Our tech stack decisions. This is that geek talk right here. This is that talk that we all get into when we be in like a kid in a candy store, in the Kadence repository, right? Y'all know about that candy store situation. You just get in there and start adding all these plugins to your website, and then your website breaks, and you're wondering why is the website breaking, and then you're crying and stuff. And yeah, no, this is the place where we actually draft out what it is we're going to be adding to our website. And let's get a little Morpheus in here.
Do you want to know what it is?
I bet you do. So it is tools like, and these are some of the tools that we use and I love to use. Shout outs to Kadence. So Kadence, again, MetaBox, WP Codebox, Shortcart, Rank Math, Fluent Forms, and Fluent CRM, right? So what we do, for example, and this is only a small list. I didn't want to add too much on here because it wouldn't look good on this slide. But what you want to do is, in my opinion, add some columns to add things like the version, the details, what is it, the standard or industry, is it the gold standard, what type of tool it is, in the website, et cetera, et cetera. Map that out in a spreadsheet once again, so that way you can easily see what's going to be added to your website, and you can pass that information along to somebody else that would be helping you with your website. But this is something that I really like doing, and I noticed that other folks like when I share, charts and things like spreadsheets like this, because of the fact that they get to get ideas of like what you use and what they use, and then that helps them, I guess, just make better decisions. I mean, I think that this is one of the biggest, I would say, things I've posted that has gotten the most response or engagement when I post my tech stack, because we all want to know. That's why I said this is like the geeky nerdy version or part of the session, because we all want to know, like, what do you got in the hood? What do you got in the hood? What's your couch look like? What's your couch look like? What your drapes look like? What you got over there? What you eating over there? You know what I'm saying? So it's just that thing that I think that we just nosy when it comes to that, and it's not a bad thing. And then last but not least, we want to go into the analytics, right? So our website analytics, and I've already mentioned KPIs earlier when it came to your goals. And we always want to measure to master, right? We want to master what we are measuring. So review walls, asking for reviews. Ben had mentioned find the customers that have had success with you, or the users, or whatever you're doing. And he was referencing from StoryBrand when it came to getting testimonials and asking for testimonials. Instead of asking, just write out the testimonials and then share that with somebody, and then say, hey, does this feel like this is something you would say? You'll get a lot quicker response from that, and it's something that I'm going to start taking on and trying myself. So I'm always learning and listening, and especially during times like this, it's like, hey, why don't you take on this advice as well too? But I thought it was really good advice when it came to that. So here's some tools or some ways you can do so. So Google Analytics 4 is definitely something you want to connect with your website and learn a little bit. Microsoft Clarity is another tool you want to connect with your website and learn a little bit about. They're not difficult tools. And the reason why I'm saying learn a little bit, because it's more important that you connect them to your site so that way you can start collecting the data. You want to learn a little bit about it because it will help if you understood the reports and the things that it says. However, if you want to hire somebody, you bring somebody in and you already have those connections made, they can easily do a lot of the legwork for you and they can help you with the reporting. So that's why I said you just want to learn it a little bit, because I know it can get overwhelming with some people. But the key is you want to have them connected so that data is going through. And like testimonials per se, or reviews. Google Business Profile. It's a great way to collect reviews from there, to get reviews and to show proof of reviews. And that's a part of your analytics, right? There are some things that are qualitative and there's some things that are quantitative. A review is a quantitative data point. It's something that you're not gonna see the needle move up and down, when you get, but you will be to get context and information about what it is that you're looking to improve upon, especially from a review. So these are just great ways to do so. And then going back to, so let me go back to the strategy here so that we can kind of tie all these things together, because that pretty much, I didn't want to, make the presentation too long. I wanted to add, enough room for a Q&A just in case, because I know sometimes this could be a lot. But going back to the goals, right? So we have our goals. We want to just draft out our goals. And with our goals, when we're drafting out our goals, we are typically creating, or we're at least starting our brand strategy or our brand messaging. We're at least starting that process of what we care about. What is our mission? What is our values? What is our unique proposition? What makes us different? We at least want to start that process. Now, because I'm a lot deeper in my journey, and plus I do this for a living, my process is going to be a little bit more complex, a little bit more detailed, but I'm not encouraging anybody to make it as detailed or as complex as I would make it, or me and my team would make it for anything that we do. I would advise you just to keep it simple. However, at some point in time, if you are going to be taken seriously and you want to get past, let's say, the $100,000 marker, the six-figure marker, I'm just keeping it real with y'all. If you want to get past that type of marker, you got to do this stuff. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I can't sugarcoat it. You're gonna have to create a brand strategy. You're gonna have to create brand messaging. You're gonna have to create consistent asset pieces that you can give to other people that help maintain your original idea and or grow with the changes that have been made, because we need to document those changes and reference those changes, right? That's something that a lot of people don't do. They skip this part and they don't document the changes. And I believe Lauren mentioned AI in the previous session. So just to give you an example, AI definitely helped with this process. I used to do a lot of this from scratch, and boy, oh boy, was it tedious to do all this from scratch. Now AI can help mitigate a lot of the blank canvas or analysis paralysis, and then you can use it to say, hey, can you give me the ideas, or can you make me a draft, and then you can go in there and then correct that draft, edit that draft. I'm just big on eliminating excuses, so that's why I'm saying you should probably check out a ChatGPT or another AI tool that would help you create a lot of this content heavy based strategy process. This is content heavy, right? You're not drawing anything, even though AI can do that now, which is crazy. But you ain't drawing anything. So use the AI to help you create a lot of this content heavy stuff, right? Also use it to help you gauge maybe who your target audience is and who your competitors are. And then go on Google or Bing or whatever you use to search and start to reference that, start to make sure that that is true. Look for the reports, look for the data, but use the AI to help you start somewhere, right? Same thing with the sitemap. So you can see we have a sitemap right here, even though it's not pretty. It ain't pretty, but you can see it's here. And this is the sitemap for our iconic templates platform. And because we're redoing the website. So everything you're seeing right now is coming from us putting out an MVP last year, and then this year saying we're going to go back and we're going to update, we're going to drill in, we're going to create a strategy, and we're going to do this from scratch. And that's basically everything that you have been seeing here as an example, is us going back in and doing it from scratch and doing it the right way. But we had to come up with something so that way we knew something was there. Then when you find out something is there, go back in there and then you can update things. So that's basically what I wanted to show you all. And that's pretty much it of this portion of the presentation. And I'll let anything else happen.
That was fantastic. Wow, there's a lot of information. I love it. We have a couple of comments and one question. I'll go with the question first. Matt Howell wants to know, is that strategy file that you mentioned earlier, is that available for download? Is that something that you share?
The documents that I was sharing as far as the outline is concerned?
I
Or the
believe so.
presentation?
Probably both.
Okay, because there's a difference between the two. Well, the presentation, absolutely. The document outline, that was internal, more of company
Okay.
stuff. I was just being transparent.
Gotcha. No worries. ASK Design says, love how you implement your transparency concept into the design. So that's pretty cool. And then Trisha Isham
you.
says that it's the subtle details like transparency that really make a big difference. And I would 100% agree with that. Let's see. Gavin Fenton says you did a great job. So thank you on that.
Thank you,
I don't have any other questions that are in here for you. So just basically, like, anything else you want to share before we kind of let you go on about the rest of your day?
I mean, normally I feel like I'm going over. You have too much. I was like, this time
It's all good. No, it's good.
I didn't
It's all
want to
good.
take. But that was the key, though. I wanted to. My goal for this presentation, I mean, just to make it make sense. But because, like you said, you just said that's a lot of information, and so
It always is, right? Yeah.
It's like a lose-lose. Like you can't win with that. So I was like, well, how can I make a lot of information not feel like a lot? And I guess my way of doing that was making a shorter presentation, so that way it wasn't just.
No, that's great. I'm not saying it was overwhelming. I'm just saying it was good stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but I agree with you. It is a lot of information though, because it's I try to simplify it as much as I can. But when it comes to website strategy, it takes weeks to months. This was a 30-minute presentation. It took months for us to create all of that stuff. To really drill in. But I don't want people to watch this and they feel overwhelmed.
No, for sure.
That's a big thing.
How is it with working with your clients when you're building websites and putting this whole process together? What is the general, communication strategy that you have with how you present your thoughts and your builds and things like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm a big fan on practicing what I preach. So that's why I showed you all, like, this is what we do this ourselves, right? So for ourselves. So the communication part, that's a big thing. I mean, we all use some type of like a project management tool or some type of thing to do that. So that's big. I'm big on making videos at time, when necessary. I think that's a big thing. Like if I can eliminate a meeting with a video, or I can eliminate questions with a video, here's how this is, and I'll walk through this. I'll create certain parts of our strategy or process sometimes, and I'll make a video and I'll explain it in the video.
Yes, perfect. I love that old saying that it was another meeting that could have been an email. In this case, it's another meeting that I could have just made you a video for. For sure. People are asking, how are they going to get a copy of the slides? Will you send those to us and we will share them out with all of the stuff? Fantastic.
Absolutely.
So we'll be happy to share all the slides from our speakers today. Matt Howell says, great presentation, Maestro.
Thank you, Matt.
So, yeah, we appreciate how much you're willing to share with the Kadence community. So thank you for being here today. And then let's just throw a couple banners up here. If you are interested in joining our mailing list, it's cadencewp.com/newsletter-subscribe. You can follow us on Twitter, also known as X, @CadenceWP, and the same handle is over on Instagram. And Maestro, I know you're not gonna be on the screen, but I know you're gonna want to hang out and be part of the audience for this next talk, because at the top of the hour, which is in about 20 minutes, we're going to be joined by Amber Hines, who is my friend, but also specialist in when it comes to accessibility. And so she's going to do a talk called Building Accessible Websites with Kadence. So looking forward to that. So thank you again, Maestro. Everybody else, hang out. We will see you at the top of the hour. Thanks.